This video is sponsored by Win-Win Technology, your ultimate flight sim hardware solution, featuring the Orion hull test, current and future configurations.
Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing wonderfully well. Now as you know by now, hopefully, GRR valued viewer driven. Almost everything we do is at your request, and that's why you get some weird good stuff and some bad stuff, but that's the way it is. Every now and then though, there's a little gem, there's something I actually want to do, and that is one of those days today, and I'm really excited. So I'm working through your vast list of naval based requests, as in there's usually at least one carrier group involved, and we're on to this point here. It's testing missiles against realistic carrier groups, and today we've got 4 that I've decided to put them together. I've called them 1980s European missiles. That's technically not correct. I think one of them's outside Europe and one of them's in the 90s, but it's near enough to encapsulate them all in one. They don't deserve a video on their own because they're all pretty terrible missiles in the scheme of things today, but it's the stuff I like. It's 1960s, 70s, 80s missiles with 1960s, 70s, 80s flying techniques. Cool stuff with cool missiles and cool planes. The missiles we'll be testing today are the RB-04E. This is Swedish. It's fired by the AGS-37 only, I think. Yes, it can be used against moving targets. It's ranged if fired on the deck. If fired by the AI, it may be different by human, but this is how it is 6 nautical miles. That's pretty pathetic. If I fire it with a human at maximum altitude, I can get it to go 20 nautical miles, which still is pretty pathetic. Bear in mind that a modern YJ-83 or a Harpoon can go up to 70 miles or maybe further. Some of the Russian missiles will go 300 miles, and Chinese. Warhead is a 300 kilo. That's the one saving grace. It's got a thumping great warhead in it, and it will sink a ship. Date 1962. It's old. Like all missiles, it's been modernized slightly, but it's old. And that means it's cool. Sea Eagle. It's British. It's fired by a C-101, and in fact, I'm going to change that. We're going to fire it by a GR4, a British Tornado, which, guess what, is frigging cool. Yes, it can be fired at moving ships. It's good because it can be fired from a low level, 200 feet, at 50 nautical miles. At high altitude, I can fire at 65 to 70 nautical miles, which is in line with a Harpoon. Warhead, pretty decent, 230 kilos, over 400 pounds. It will sink a small ship. Date, 1982, is pretty old tech. Next, getting even cooler, AS-34 Cormoran, German. Fired by the IDS Tornado, the European Tornado. Yes, it can be fired against moving ships. Maximum range, if fired on the deck, 11 nautical miles and 20 nautical miles at optimum altitude. Let's face it, everything's going to be fired on the deck here because ships obviously shoot back. Warhead, 165 kilos. It's not too bad. We'll sink a small ship. Date, 1973. The version we're using is actually a modernized version in 1991, the Mark II. The old one is about 40% worse. And finally, possibly the coolest anti-ship missile ever made by anyone ever, the IR-seeking AGM-119 Bravo. That's actually a US designation because they used it as well, but it is the Penguin. It is Norwegian. It's fired by F-16As. Yes, I'll say that. F-16As. It can be fired against moving ships. Can actually be fired against aircraft as well in real life. Not sure if it can be used in DCS, but that's cool. Basically a giant, long-range, super fast, super sexy, super slick Maverick. Range, if fired on the deck with the AI, at 16 nautical miles, which is okay. 18 at maximum. Warhead, unfortunately, is pretty small at 120 kilos, 250 pounds. Designed in 1972. Very impressive missile, I think. One day, if we ever get countermeasures in ships, it would be interesting to see how easily you could put it off with flares. Probably pretty easily, I imagine. Bearing in mind an aging Seeker head. This has an air-breathing jet engine, hence it can go far, but it's slow. This has a solid rocket motor, solid rocket motor, solid rocket motor. Now you're going to ask, Cap, why have you batched all these together? Surely they deserve a video each. No, unfortunately, the reason we've batched them together is these are all terrible missiles. I don't mean that in the scope of their time, but I mean that in the scope of what we're using today. In the world of AGM-84s, pretty decent missiles, YJ-83Ks, decent missiles and the variants of. In the brand new 2020s, YJ-12 from China, the supersonic missiles from Russia, all that stuff, they're all pathetic. This one looks good because it can go far. Even I'm British and I'll say it's a pretty bad missile. It goes like 400 knots. It's really easy to shoot down. It's just not particularly effective in the scheme of things today. I should talk about realism as well. These are all core module weapons. That means they're realistic. I usually say everything in DCS is within about 5% tolerance of real life. They don't always achieve it, but roughly speaking, everything in DCS should be about within 5% of real life. Not so much with mods. The previous video to this was, of course, the Exocet missile that we used in DCS, and it turned out it was 800% error in terms of its speed. I'll say that again, 800% error in terms of its speed and performance. Now, that's the difference between modules. Nothing we can do about it. Keep pressuring people to try and make them accurate. That's a story for another day. Which leads us on to our scenario. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, valued viewers, because like I said, these are terrible missiles. Getting them to fight a modern carrier group, which is what we want to do today, is actually incredibly difficult. It's taken me 3 days of setup, which is why not many videos are coming out at the moment. Getting these to actually do something useful is almost impossible. We've talked about the missiles. Let's talk about the group it's going to be fighting. I've just plucked out of the air a Chinese CG. It's the Liaoning class here, protected battle formation of 052Cs and 054s. It's got a whole bunch of flankers, 2 are in the air. I've just used Su-33s. I know they don't use them. They use a very similar thing called a J-15. For the scope of today's video, it really doesn't matter. They're not going to be effective the way I've set it up. So J-15 Bravos, basically 2 airborne ready to intercept and 22 on the Liaoning ready to take off, and they will do that with a KJ-2000 as the AWACS. Why have I chosen the Chinese? It doesn't matter. I could have chosen anyone. I could have chosen the Kuznetsov class of the Russians, the Queen Elizabeth class of the British. We could have chosen the Nimitz class of the Americans. We could have chosen the Juan Carlos of the Spanish. We could have chosen the de Gaulle class of the French. They're all going to be about as effective as each other. And that's because they've got decent modern technology. They've got modern linked radar systems, Aegis type defense systems, VLS launcher systems. They've all got that decent modern tech. So it's not going to really matter which we use for today. Which is funny because for the aircraft attacking, we're going right back to the 60s to 80s, basically, when aircraft were really cool. Now, I cover all the modern things like the YJ-12 and stealth fighters because you guys asked me to. I have no real interest in them because I don't. I have real interest in these planes, so I'm really excited about today. So, let's talk about the attack. I had to tailor the attack literally perfectly, which is why it's taken this so long. I've tried every attack I possibly can. I will save you the time of trying it yourself out now. Nothing you can do can get these weapons to hurt a modern carrier group in any type of traditional attack. So usually an attack like this, to be realistic, we would have the plane starting about 200 nautical miles away, assuming they're low. That's roughly when an AWACS could see them due to line of sight and radar power and stuff like that, keeping it roughly realistic. There are no configurations at all where that works in this case, literally, unless you have hundreds of attacking planes, more than the missiles that can shoot them down, which is obviously stupid. I don't want to go full GR. So I've done the best I can. I've made a horrendously unrealistic attack that favours the attackers in every single way possible. This is 100% biased to allow these planes to work. Let's not beat around the bush. We've got the Liaoning class that for some reason has come into the Persian Gulf, and she's decided to do what obviously she wouldn't do in real life, which is to tuck up really close to a mountain range. One of the many things a carrier attack never does is A, go close to terrain, and B, close to mountainous terrain, because it allows a pop-up attack to happen with primitive weapons. You just wouldn't do it. But in this case, we've done it. You'll have to make your own role play up. She's moving at flank speed 10 miles from a massive mountain range, which is very convenient. We've got an AWACS here at 20,000 feet. It won't be realistic, because if it was realistic, he would have picked these guys up 200 miles away. Let's just say, for some reason, to allow this tack to work, he's only got a maximum range of 70 miles because he's got a damaged battery or generator or something, okay? It's the best we can do if you want these guys to work in any way possible, which we do today. The J-15s, for some reason, they can only fly west to attack these guys. They can't fly east to attack these guys. If they did, then again, nothing works here. I mean, they know these guys are coming because the AWACS can see them. Let's just say, whoever these guys are, in the J-15s, today, they've all agreed not to fly east. You're going to have to make your own role play up for that. But you can see how desperate we're getting for something to work. Otherwise, everything else is fine. Everything else will fire like normal. With all that stuff out the way, let's look at the attack. We've got a mixed attack. First, the Sea Eagles will be using their long range. They'll be fired at 50 nautical miles from the carrier, at just any ship. You can't decide which ship it actually goes for. It's just going for those guys. 8 of them will be fired from 8 GR4 British Tornadoes. Each has 2 Sea Eagles. Next, we're going to fire 8 times 4, which is 32 AS-34 Cormorants from German Luftwaffe Tornadoes. Sorry about their skin. Each has 4 Cormorants here, which is cool, and ECM pods and stuff. They will fly on the deck as far as I can make them go on the deck in DCS, at least at 600 knots, proper tornado style. One of the many reasons this is a very cool plane. To this waypoint here, duck and dive and duck and dive and duck and dive. As soon as they go up in a line of sight, these guys will shoot them 70 miles away. You all know that. These are modern tech. These are not. They'll go here, and then they'll get to the incredibly conveniently placed mountain here, pop over the top, launch all their missiles, and they won't even try and evade. If I try and evade, they won't launch their missiles because these guys are so fast at launching their missiles, so that it's going to be a suicide mission. That's a them problem. It's the only way I can get them to fire. Next, the mighty AGM 119B Penguin, launched by Norwegian F-16As, 8 of them. They've got 2 IR-seeking Penguins each. They're going to do exactly the same. It's the only way I can get them within range of firing is to hug the deck through the conveniently placed mountains, fire at 10 nautical miles away, and go full suicide. Otherwise, they just turn around and run away, basically, once they see the Chinese. And finally, we've got the really cool RB-04E. We've just got one guy. It's going to be Simba. Say hello, Simba.
Hello.
He's in wolf skin. He's got 2 RB-04E. Now, the good thing about these Simba is they've got a massive warhead. You can probably even sink a carrier. Not in real life, but in DCS, if you get one of these, get 2 of these to hit, you're going to have to follow the guys perfectly. Please don't go above them or disrupt them in any way. Just go slightly behind them, probably. As soon as they start firing their stuff, fire your stuff. I wouldn't try and get too close because you will get shot down. Just fire at the group and hope they go for the carrier. That's the best you can do. Next, it's time on target. None of this works without time on target, okay? Everything has to be to the second perfect, and that's exactly what we've done. You can see the weird convenient setups here that you'd never fly like in real life. It's because the only way I can get the possibility of damage is to have every missile in the air uninterrupted within about 5 seconds. So the way I've timed it is that these guys will fire ages before. By the time the missiles get back here, 20 miles, so that these guys can see them with that radar, that's when these guys pop over the cliff here and send it. So all 32, how many missiles are there? There's about 50, I've just added up in my head 96. There's 96 missiles all being fired essentially within about 5 seconds of each other. So that's pretty hardcore, right? And don't think they're slow missiles. They're fast missiles. They're rocket powered. They're probably faster than anything jet powered. So they are lethal in the weird setup that we've got here. Sorry for all the talking, but like I said, this is an important one for me. Next are the name drops. So it's pretty much the first time we've ever got to use tornadoes. So we're going to have these guys, this squadron here, let's call them 809 Squadron, even though that's not a real squadron for tornadoes, is led by Tim Davies. He's an independent video maker, and you probably know him. His Rio/Wizzo/Navigator is Simon Pearson, who works for Eagle Dynamics. That's them guys. Next, the squadron leader is Ali B, is a real tornado pilot, or was for 20 years. He flies for GR now. I'm sure you all recognize his voice by now. He's, I don't know, the good one that seems to win everything, basically. Really experienced pilot. I think actually even taught some of the other guys that we're talking about. This guy is Chris Oz, who flies for us as well. He was actually a Tornado F3 fighter pilot. Cool guy, but today we're putting him in a German IDS. I don't know why. Next is Obi2. He's an independent. He's actually a Eurofighter 2000 pilot at the moment. Colin McGregor is his full name, and he is the brother of Ewan McGregor, the very famous film star. Independent, obviously. Nothing to do with ED or GR. And finally, got 2 famous pilots or pairs. I've actually approached these guys, but haven't managed to get them. John Peters, John Nichols, I've forgotten now, actually independents. They were shot down during Gulf War I and captured and became world famous for it. So those are our name drops. It just gives you an idea of how linked in we are with tornadoes and why they matter with us so much. That there, valued viewers, is our setup. Simba. This really is actually an interesting one. I've run the sim through in stages to see that everything fires and everything does, but I've not actually allowed any of the missiles to hit, so I don't know whether this will work or not. This is the best we can possibly do. It's horrendously unrealistic and biased towards the blue, but like I said, if you want 80s tech to work, it's the only way you can do it. Do you think you're going to be successful in at least disabling a carrier?
You know how they say like styles kind of go around and come back around?
They do come back around. That's exactly right.
I think 80s tech is on its way back in.
I hope so. I'm not going to say anything. If I say anything bad about the stealth fighters, I immediately lose about 10,000 subscribers. So I'm not going to do it today, guys. But we are about to see what I consider one of the best things in the world ever. Stand by. And here we go. The best thing, well, for ages. 3, 2, 1, go, boys. Here comes Tim Davies, Simon in the back, squadron leader, fictitious 809, the tornadoes. Go on, boys. Wings back. Burners on. I give you the tornado. That's sexy. Charging in. This is as low as we can make them go in game, 140 feet. In real life, the RAF would have these things at 20 feet. Pitching up. Missiles away. What is that? 16 Sea Eagles in the air. Beautiful thing. Godspeed, boys. Get safe. That's an order. Okay. Sea Eagle missiles. Now, they're decent missiles in that they fly low. They're 40 feet. They fly a long way. 50 to 70 nautical miles. Here come the imaginary J-15s. But they're so slow and they're easy to shoot down. Because they're so slow. 400 knots is really slow for a ship attack missile. The problem with it is you can't overwhelm. You compare that to Mach 1.4, 1.5 Russian supersonic missile or a Mach 2.5 Chinese missile. It shows you've got ages. You've got ages to shoot these down with the VLS and the Sea-Whiz and whatnot. And that makes it, to be honest, a crap weapon. It's like if you had them coming in at 50 knots, you know, you'd have all day to shoot them down. And that's the only problem with the Sea Eagles. Let's go and have a look at the other boys. We've got the big boys. We've got Ali B at the front, Chris Oz backing him up, Obi-2, John Peters, John Nichols, plus the Norwegians, plus Simba. Are you in there somewhere, Simba?
I'm on. Yep, I'm back in the formation.
Wings back. Reheat on. RB119s. Not the most powerful, but very rugged motors.
And they have cool external reverse thrusters.
Now, I've asked them all to fly at 50 feet off the deck. The lowest I can make them do is 140, roughly, for the Tornadoes. Held missiles up. And about 250 for the F-16s. There's nothing I can do about that. I consider that unrealistic, and I think that should be changed personally. They're ordered to keep as low as they possibly can in the terrain. Popping up above the hills, they will get shot at by the Chinese. Chinese, or any modern carrier group, is so good, so active, that as soon as they pop up like this, missiles will be shot, but they will duck down again, and hence we will be able to evade. I expect them all to get to the firing point. Simba's showing how it should be done. Look how low they should be. Look how low they actually are. It's the problem with AI. No balls. J-15s taking off. 3 J-15s up, chasing down these guys as a distraction. Pretty unrealistic, but again, it's the best we can do. HQ's coming for the Sea Eagles, and our attack force is getting pretty close. Ali B looking good. F-16s are going slightly faster for whatever reason, but there you go. Still wings back, burners on. Keeping nice and low, or just low enough anyway. Getting close now. Okay, here comes the last mountain. Things are going to start hotting up. That guy up there is going too high. It's going to get shot. Missiles out for these guys. On their final attack run, Tally carrier group. Missiles immediately out within a second from the Chinese. I want to see if we can get our missiles away. I've been planning this for days. Please fire, please fire, please fire, please fire. 1,000,001 missiles out. Yes, they're going to do it. Brakes out, wings open, and here they go. Yes, everything's out in a beautiful cacophony of 96 missiles! It worked! Oh, we got guys going down. Yes, more Cormorants out. Tornadoes down. F-16's down. It doesn't matter, they're expendable at this point. Whoa, I've done a thing. Look at their burning motors. Seawiz is out. What to look at? Leading the way is an RB-04 Simba, and it's getting through. I did not see that coming. Look at all their rocket motors burning. Ah! A wave of pop-ups. It's a wave of Seawiz, an absolute. Look at all that Seawiz, but the Cormorants are getting through, and RB-04's got through. Look at that! Absolutely amazing. Something's going to get through. Cormorant hits. Oh, my FPS has gone all the way down. It's hit. The Lowney is hit. It worked. Something I did worked. It's amazing. Missiles still up in the air. Here, more are coming in. Cormorants are in. They're small, they're hard to hit, they're highly, well, they're not evasive, but they're fast. Their rocket motors are still burning. J-15 scrambling. I think that's it. What an attack! Look at all the smoke above the sea. The smoke! Oh, a frigate just got hit! A frigate just got smashed at the front. Missiles going out. More missiles still coming in. Here they come. The Sea Eagles are still out there. Try and get some SA. What the heck's going on here? Wow. We even had some survivors. Go on, run your face into about Day Simba. Oh, all of Tim Davis and Simon all got shot down by the J-15s. That's a them problem. Not much I can do about that. The Tornado, the Germans, who are actually British, 3 got killed. All F-16s. Wow, only one F-16 got shot down. Oh no F-16s got shot. Well, I'll say that, but oh, and he's got his gear down. That's abnormal. Oh, Simba, I feel for you. Oh, good dodge, Simba. Okay, Simba's going to be a hero. Simba's going to be a hero. HQ-9s. Oh, they can't get away in time. They can't get away in time. Oh, the poor tornado. All the tornadoes are dead apart from one. I'm going to have to say that's probably Ali. Simba, lower, lower, lower. Oh, in the face. And F-16s are coming back in. I haven't actually told them how to get away. I must admit, I didn't think they would survive. There was so many HQ-9s going for the missiles. The planes actually got away. Like I said, it's the first time I've tried that with everything together. So I had no... When I did it group by group, everything died. Nothing got through. But this time, saturation did work. Well, I say that, but watch this. Boom! Don't fly parade formation next to a Chinese carrier group. That's my suggestion for you today. So I'd say probably about 60% loss rate. This just shows you the power of modern missiles. I mean, look at this. Look at this naval crumble. Oh, okay. Now let's look at damage. Well, the good thing is most of the missiles targeted the carrier. Now, I don't actually have much of a say on that. I can tell them to attack the carrier, but the way they work, they'll basically lock onto whatever they want. So I'm amazed that, first of all, so many locked onto the carrier. We did 50% damage, which is almost a carrier out of action, according to DCS. I mean, real life, I don't know. It's just a simple hit bar in here. It's still technically operable. It can move at reduced speed. It should be moving at 30 knots flank speed, but all of the planes have been destroyed. There was probably 15 more planes to take off, and all that's left of them is dust and fragments. 15 planes have just been destroyed, and the carrier is down to 15 knots, so one turbine's gone, or however you judge that. So there you go. These guys can probably still come and land, though, according to DCS again. So that's the thing. Also, this guy almost destroyed, but again, that is still operable at reduced 15 knots. It can still do cruise speed, and it can still fire its weapons. So it is right on the cusp there of destroying a carrier group, almost. Now, let's bear in mind, that was probably the coolest thing I've ever done. But bear in mind that everything was done in the Blue's favour. So to get 80s missiles and planes, which are very cool, they will get you laid massively, but not actually very effective because I have to cheat in basically every way to get them to work. Give me a rough idea how that looked from your point of view, or were you out in front of everyone?
Nope, I tried to stay in behind everyone.
Wicked, I'm chuffed with that. Right, Simba, I'm excited. I want to go and run around the garden a bit and shout to the gods. Anything for you to add before we sign off?
Nope, good fun.
Roger, probably won't see one like that again, valued viewers, so breathe that in, watch it again. I hope you enjoyed that, and see you later.